Arcane has an incredible cast of interesting and compelling characters. I could have made this video on any number of them. However, there is something about Vi and her evolution over the series that really drew me to her character. She is integral to the story of Arcane and many of the overarching themes. After the second season of the show, many people have felt shortchanged by how Vi was treated, and even though I wish she was given more of a spotlight, I still feel like the second season of the show did a great job concluding her story. In my opinion, Vi is the best character in Arcane, and in this video, I will look into what makes Vi such a compelling and interesting character, as I analyze her journey over the course of the show.
I'm sorry, Powder. I never meant to leave you.
Vi comes out of the gate as a fully formed, complex character. Having grown up in the Undercity, Vi and her family were treated like second-class citizens, always left wanting for their basic needs.
I grew up knowing I'm less than them, that my place is down there.
Her parents tried to fight against the enforcers in hopes of enacting meaningful change to give their daughters a better life. However, things went poorly, and Vi's parents were killed, leaving her and her sister Powder orphaned. Naturally, Vi was devastated by the loss of her parents, their deaths being the first of many tragic events that she would end up experiencing. The death of her parents was pivotal for Vi, as it instilled in her a hatred for the enforcers. Enforcers were bringers of death and injustice, and Vi would spend much of her life fighting them or running from them. They were a source of constant fear and anger for her. Vi also realized that without her parents, it now fell to her to protect Powder, as she was all that she had left of their family. Vi took this job incredibly seriously, doing everything in her power to help and support her sister.
You're stronger than you think.
In the aftermath of their parents' death, Vi and Powder were adopted by Vander, who would go on to raise them as his own children. Vi reveals what kind of person she is fairly quickly, as she is not shy about doing what she thinks is right. She is a natural leader, as she is intelligent and highly competent. Her adopted brothers, Milo and Clagger, as well as her sister Powder, look to her, willing to follow her down any path she leads them. They've grown to love and trust Vi, as they know she would do anything to protect them. And being a protector is one of Vi's primary characteristics. She works tirelessly to improve her fighting skills, as it is her means of protecting the one she loves. It also offers a release for all her pent-up anger that she has for the enforcers in the current situation of the Undercity. We also learn that she was teaching Ekko some fighting maneuvers.
She showed me a couple of moves to practice.
Something it is safe to assume she also helped her siblings with. This is Vi's way of protecting them even when she is not around. She is incredibly confident in her abilities and won't back down even if she is clearly outmatched. As a result, she has learned to take a hit, allowing her to bounce right back up and keep on fighting. She is young and reckless, oftentimes looking for a reason to fight, as she is not content to sit idly as the people of the Undercity live in squalor.
We need to fight back. And if you won't, I will.
This impetuousness leads her to make decisions like the raid of Jace's apartment and fighting with Deckard instead of handing over the goods. But even in these instances, she takes full responsibility for her actions, not running away from accountability. When Vander chastises their actions, Vi steps up to try and take the blame, trying to protect her siblings from any punishment.
I took us there. If you want to be mad at me.
When it becomes clear that the explosion won't just be swept under the rug, Vi takes things into her own hands, calling Grayson to turn herself in, giving the enforcers their culprit, while managing to protect her family. She's willing to do anything for those she loves, even if it comes at great cost to herself. The most important relationship for Vi is that with her sister Powder. Where Powder has yet to come into her full potential, still struggling to find her place in the world, Vi does everything she can to nurture and support her. It would be so easy for Vi to blame Powder when things don't go as planned, like Milo does. But every chance she gets, Vi stands up for her sister. She is able to see the bigger picture, and that what really matters is that Powder is safe and in her life. not sweating the small things like losing some valuables. Vi tries to build up Powder whenever she can, trying to get her to focus on her strengths rather than her weaknesses.
I'm not a fighter.
You don't have to be. I've got these. And you've got those.
They never work.
They will.
Vi's relationship with Vander is also incredibly important. As the de facto leader of the children, Vander looks to Vi to set a good example for the others. He has spent the years doing everything he can to build the best place for them to live good lives. He no longer harbors any thoughts of rebellion, deciding instead to work within the system. This puts him in conflict with Vi a number of times. Vi is unhappy with Vander's seeming inaction. She wants to be fighting for change and doesn't care for Vander's passivity. However, Vander has been to war. He knows the cost of rebellion, something which he tries to protect Vi from. Vander is able to get through to Vi as he makes it clear all that she could lose if she went down that path.
But who are you willing to lose? Milo? Clagger? Powder?
She has already lost one family. She doesn't want to lose another. But everything changed when Silco kidnapped Vander. Vi's greatest virtues and biggest flaws are on full display, as she doesn't hesitate for a moment before going after to try and rescue Vander, even knowing that whatever took him is capable of incredible violence. When they find out what happened, Milo and Clagger volunteer to help her, but Vi forbids Powder from coming with them. Vi is trying to protect Powder as she is unsure what exactly they are up against. She is scared that she could lose Powder, and with Vander potentially already lost to them, she's not willing to risk Powder's safety.
You're all I have left. I can't lose you.
If she allowed Powder to come along, her focus would be split, as she has to constantly worry about protecting her sister, as she knows she would be unable to hold her own. She doesn't begrudge Powder this, but it's something she can't afford to worry about when the situation is so dire. Powder is absolutely devastated by being left behind, as after all, Vander is her father too. When Vi leads Milo and Clagger on their rescue mission, they manage to sneak into where Vander is being held, not realizing they just walked into a trap. Vi is so focused on what she is going to do that she doesn't consider that others are making plans in equal measure. After springing the trap and enduring Silco's slow clap, things come into focus for Vi. Vi's valiant stand on the bridge is classic Vi. It really epitomizes who she is as a character in this moment. It's simple. She has to give it her all, fighting off Silco's hordes of goons as she tries to protect her loved ones that are relying on her. She will fend them off for as long as she can, taking out her anger on them as she does what she does best. It also shows the great amount of trust that she has in Milo and Clagger, depending on them to free Vander and secure a means of escape for them. It's bittersweet to see Vi having this level of trust, because after the events of this night, she will struggle to trust anyone in the same way. After Powder's monkey bomb explosion, Vi's entire world is thrown into chaos. Milo and Clagger are dead. Vander, using his dying breath, but not really, saves Vi. Vi is so overwhelmed with shock and horror, as she just lost another family. She is truly horrified by this loss, as she sees her brother's corpses and hears Vander's final plea. As she is wallowing in her grief, Powder shows up, taking credit for one of the most devastating moments in Vi's life.
Read the room, dude!
It feels like a slap in the face. Vi can't help herself but lash out, giving into her anger and taking it out on Powder. She strikes her sister and says things she knows will hurt her the worst.
Why did you leave me?
Because you're a Jinx! Do you hear me?
But then, her moment of weakness passes, and all Vi is left with is a feeling of shame and guilt. She tries to take a much needed moment to regain her composure, unable to be there for her sister when she needs a minute to try and pull herself back together. She can't stand over Vander's corpse any longer, nor does she trust herself to be in Powder's presence with her emotions still so raw. However, instead of a moment of peace, she gets a rag full of chloroform as she is taken from her sister, who will think that Vi abandoned her. Marcus throws Vi in Stillwater Prison, where she is left to rot for upwards of 6 years. She was thrown in the dankest, darkest dungeon without any trial or due process, reaffirming her beliefs that the justice system is corrupt. There she stayed, confined with her thoughts that ate away at her daily. She festered with her guilt, as she wondered why she lived while her family died. She no doubt blames herself for the events of that night, as it was Vi who, when shown the hex crystals by Powder, told her sister to keep them quiet, it being their little secret, knowing that had she taken a different action then, or when she told Powder to stay behind, everything could be different. The only thing that kept her going during these years was the thought that Powder was still out there and needed her help. She did what she could to channel all of her feelings in maintaining her physical prowess. During her time in prison, she also gets some pretty sweet tats, one of which is important to Vi's character. She gets her name tattooed on her cheek. I think this is almost an attempt at reinforcing her sense of self-identity, not wanting to lose herself during her time in prison. It's a bold declaration of who she is and what she is fighting for. It's also an interesting detail to note that Vi's prisoner number is 516, and if you look at her name in terms of Roman numerals, the V is 5, the I is 1, and VI is 6. 516. I think this also represents how the enforcers and world at large see her as nothing but a number, a criminal better left forgotten. But Vi, the name, shines through, revealing the person beneath it all. After breaking the jaw of one of Silco's lackeys, Vi gets paid a visit by none other than Caitlin Kiraman. After Caitlin secures Vi's freedom, the two adventure into the Undercity together, looking to get to the bottom of who stole the Hex Crystal. In many ways, the pair are polar opposites. Where Vi came from the Undercity, orphaned at an early age, was unjustly thrown in prison, and is a parkour enthusiast, Caitlin grew up to affluent parents, sporting one of the most prestigious names in Piltover. She never wanted for anything, and now serves as an enforcer, a group that has haunted Vi for her entire life. And well, she isn't exactly into parkour, but they are also similar in some ways, as both of them have a bit of a chip on their shoulder, desperately wanting to prove themselves. As they form an unlikely and uncertain alliance, they slowly learn to work together and ultimately trust each other. Early on in their relationship, Vi takes much of her anger towards the enforcers and directs it towards Caitlin.
You enforcers are all the same, just asshole criminals in fancy uniforms.
However, as Caitlin slowly reveals herself to be genuine in her desire to help, Vi starts to lower her guard. After Vi charges in to fight Sevika, it's Caitlin that comes to her rescue, and instead of abandoning her, Caitlin does everything in her power to help Vi survive her stabbing.
I feel like Caitlin has unlocked this softness in Vi. She's lost everyone else in her life, and she's just like praying to God that she doesn't lose Caitlin, because she finally has someone.
With Caitlin largely naive to the workings of the Undercity, I think Vi naturally slides into a mentor role, with Caitlin taking the place of Powder. Vi shows Caitlin the truth of things, opening her eyes to what people have to go through on a daily basis. When Vi sees the blue signal smoke, she rushes to it, where she comes face to face with what her sister has become. I think much of Vi's arc in Season 1 is focused about this idea of trying to cling on to who Powder was, wanting nothing more to be reunited with her sister, and continue where they left off. However, time and circumstance has changed both of them. Too much has happened for them to recapture that moment in time. As the Firelights attack, Vi instinctively has her sister's back, but as the fight goes on, she starts to see that Powder is now Jinx. She is horrified as she witnesses Jinx in a state of hysteria, indiscriminately firing at anything that moves. She gets her first real glimpse of how far Powder has fallen, and the madness that has consumed her. Even after witnessing Powder's manic episode, Vi is still adamant that her sister is still in there and that she can get through to her. Ekko tries to tell her that Powder is gone, working for Silco by choice and terrorizing the lanes, but Vi won't listen to him. She can't. Vi is fully on her Luke Skywalker arc. However, her faith is immediately tested, as Jinx leads an assault on the bridge, injuring both Ekko and Caitlyn in the process. When Caitlyn and Vi go to the council, pleading with them to take action against Silco, all of her worst fears are confirmed. The council is not interested in helping the Undercity, instead opting to leave them to Silco's machinations. She rages, feeling like she was foolish for ever thinking that people from Piltover and Zaun could work together. She goes rogue, seeking out Jace, someone trusted by Caitlyn and the only council member willing to do something. After her fights with Deckard and Sevika, it was becoming clear that Vi was losing her edge, unable to compete with only her fists. Her brief alliance with Jace gives her a major upgrade in her Hextech gauntlets, allowing her to reach a new level of fighting prowess. After destroying one of Silco's shimmer factories, parting ways with Jace and having another showdown with Sevika, Vi is invited to a dinner party. She sees Jinx in all her glory, the last vestiges of powder buried deep within. Jinx confirms what Vi has felt all along, that Vi was the one that created Jinx. She was the one who caused her sister to walk down this path, the true source of all her misery. She sees just how deranged Jinx has become, the puppets of Milo and Claggor, having conversations with herself, and kidnapping Silco and Caitlyn. She finds herself in an impossible situation, caught between trying to protect Powder and trying to protect Caitlyn. She is unable to kill Caitlyn like Jinx asks her to, but she is also unwilling to let Caitlyn kill Powder. Her attempts to appeal to her sister only make things worse as they send Jinx into a full-blown manic episode that results in Silco's death, and her officially cementing herself as Jinx. She fires a rocket launcher at the Piltover Council, as Vi and Caitlyn can only watch on in horror.
I can do this myself. No one else needs to get hurt.
Vi feels an immense sense of guilt for Jinx's attack on the Council. Caitlyn could have ended things. She had the shot, but Vi stepped in and begged her to stop. Caitlyn listened, and as a result, she paid the ultimate price, losing her mother in the attack. Vi feels responsible for what happened, as in trying to protect her sister, she allowed her to enact massive pain. In the imagery during this sequence, the world is drained of color, save for Vi and Caitlyn, but they are far apart, both feeling like they are on an island of their own. Vi looks and feels like she doesn't belong, lurking around in the background, feeling unwanted, like she shouldn't be there since the whole incident was her fault. If Season 1 was about Vi clinging onto the idea of Powder, that image was shattered in the finale. Act 1 of Season 2 is Vi acknowledging that the sister she loved and cared for is gone.
Powder's gone.
The actions she takes are a rejection of Jinx and what she represents.
Done pretending you're my sister. You're not. You killed her. I'm not gonna let you stain her memory anymore.
Knowing that she is the reason for Jinx's creation, Vi feels like it is her obligation to put an end to her destruction, eliminating Jinx and allowing Powder to rest. She wants to do this alone, feeling like she is solely responsible, not wanting anyone else to get hurt for something she caused. Caitlyn wants to join Vi in her hunt for Jinx, but instead of doing it as rogue agents, Caitlyn wants Vi to enlist in the Enforcers. Vi is initially appalled by Caitlyn's suggestion, rejecting it outright. The Enforcers killed her parents. They were a source of constant terror throughout her childhood, the reason she was unjustly arrested for years. Vi has never had a good interaction with an Enforcer in her entire life, except for Caitlyn. I've seen people criticize Vi joining the Enforcers, but I think it makes sense for her character for a few reasons. Perhaps the most important factor is her relationship with Caitlyn. Over the course of the first season, Vi and Caitlyn slowly grow to understand and trust each other. They constantly put their lives on the line for one another, offering their help when the other needs it most. No longer are the Enforcers being run by a corrupt sheriff in Marcus, but if Vi joined, she would be serving under Caitlyn, who has seen how the people of the Undercity live and has expressed a desire to help them. When Vi joins the Enforcers, she is putting her faith in Caitlyn, not the institution. Vi joining the Enforcers also gives her the opportunity to exemplify what an Enforcer should be. Who better to be an Enforcer than someone who is from Zaun, who knows their plights and the abuse they have suffered? She would act from a place of empathy rather than hatred. By joining the Enforcers, she can work to change how they conduct themselves. I also think the attack at the memorial has an effect on Vi's decision. She bears witness to the destruction that the Chem Barons are still capable of. She once again feels responsible for this attack, and the lives lost, as at least in part it can be seen as a retaliation for when she went rogue and attacked the Shimmer facility. It's yet another mess she feels obligated to clean up. By joining the Enforcers, she can help to improve the citizens of Zaun's lives on two fronts, focusing the Enforcers' attention on removing the Chem Barons, freeing the people from both parties' injustices. I also think witnessing the attack kicked in her protective instinct, as she saw Caitlyn in a number of dire situations. She feels like she just lost her sister, and she can't stomach to lose Caitlyn. By joining the Enforcers, she can fight alongside Caitlyn, watching her back and making sure that she survives. I think all of these reasons make sense for Vi's ultimate decision to join the Enforcers, despite what they have stood for her entire life. I think what is really fascinating is once Vi joins the Enforcers with the mission of hunting down Jinx and removing the Chem Barons, we get to see her evolve once again, as her relationship with Caitlyn changes. Many people took issue with Vi being on board with the use of the Grey. However, I actually think this sounds and looks worse than it actually is, as the Strike Force does not unleash the Grey on the whole of the Undercity, but rather on specific locations as a tool to root out Jinx and the Barons. Its use in general is still questionable, but I think Vi is able to rationalize its targeted use.
We use the Grey to clear the streets, to keep people safe.
It is also during this time that Vi starts to see a change in Caitlyn. The closer they get to finding Jinx, the more unhinged Caitlyn becomes. As Vi sees Caitlyn start to come undone, she asks her to promise not to change, not to lose herself. But these words aren't enough, as when the ultimate confrontation with Jinx occurs, Vi and Caitlyn come to an impasse.
Vi's in a place where she's lost everything. She's lost anything and everything she's ever felt seen by or close to. The only way she has any of it left is through Caitlyn, and she's now asking a lot of her, asking her not to ever change given what she's now going through.
When Jinx reveals herself, Vi stands firm in her conviction that she can't be allowed to continue, with the sisters engaging in a fight to the death. However, just when it seems like Vi has gained the upper hand, Isha jumps in, trying to defend Jinx. Vi is completely taken aback and sees that there might still be some of Powder in there after all. Vi is also unwilling to risk killing Isha or to execute Jinx in front of her, not wanting to create another Jinx in the process. Caitlyn doesn't have the same issue though, completely consumed with her hatred of Jinx and her desire for revenge. She won't let some kid get in her way.
Fuck them kids.
Seeing how far Caitlyn is willing to go makes Vi realize that what she thought she was fighting for no longer makes sense, as she no longer sees a difference between Jinx and Caitlyn's actions. They are both willing to hurt anyone who gets in their way, no matter who it is, translating their personal pain into violence against others. Caitlyn has lost her trust, and so Vi intervenes on Jinx's behalf, stopping Caitlyn from carrying out her revenge. As a result, the two have a falling out, leaving Vi alone and heartbroken. When we next see Vi, some time has passed, and she has entered her emo girl phase. Feeling like she has lost all of the people she cared about, Vi is truly directionless.
But for the first time, she is completely disoriented and lost.
At least when she was in prison, Vi had the hope of one day finding Powder and being a family again. However, after her last encounter, she knows that Jinx doesn't need her, and is not the little girl that she left behind. Similarly, the person she had slowly grown to love and trust in Caitlyn was lost to her grief, and went down a path Vi could no longer follow. To this point, all of Vi's fighting was done for a reason: to protect her loved ones, to find her sister, to dismantle Shimmer, to root out the Barons. But now, as she has joined the fighting pits, her fighting is purposeless, not done for any noble cause, just an outlet for her anger. It also serves to punish her, for all of the guilt she feels about the things that she has done. She feels entirely alone, her life empty save for mindless fighting and drinking. I think her loss of identity is reflected in her appearance. Perhaps Vi's most striking physical feature is her bright pink hair. However, she has dyed her hair black, signifying that she has lost herself. Her tattoo of her name enforces this idea, as it is covered in a black oily substance. She is entirely aimless, lost to her sadness and regret. She only escapes the sad state when she is visited by Jinx. Vi is initially hostile towards Jinx and only follows along with her when she tells her that Vander might still be alive. Vi is obviously skeptical as she feels like she witnessed his death, but like so many people, Vi needs some hope, something to cling on to so that she can keep moving forward. I think Vi's arc for the remainder of the season involves her coming to terms with who Jinx actually is, letting go of the fantasy of Powder and the hatred for the things Jinx has done, and learning to accept who Jinx is now and how they could potentially coexist. Vi sees how Jinx interacts with Isha, seeing a loving, sisterly relationship not too dissimilar from what they once had together. It is also reinforced when they find Vander's letter to Silco, seeing that he tried to apologize and wished to forgive the sins of one another. If they had been able to forgive, who knows what could have happened. We see Vi reach out to try and comfort Jinx, but pull herself back, not quite ready to care again. However, it's not too long after when Vander comes to crash the party, his new monstrous form confused and raging. Instinctually, Vi starts to fight back, to defend herself and those around her. Jinx is pleading with her to believe her, that the beast is actually Vander, and if Vi just surrenders, they will be alright. There are so many reasons not to believe Jinx in this moment. The things she has said, the things she has done, not to mention just how crazy Vander being alive would actually be. But there are reasons to believe her too, to try and trust again, like she used to trust Powder and Milo and Clagger, to try and move forward together and be some version of a family, to let the past die and try to be better in the future. I think it is an incredibly powerful and beautiful moment as Vi lets down her guard, putting her trust in Jinx, as Vander stops his attack and instead embraces Vi in a loving hug. It's also not lost on me that Vi is essentially also taking Vander's advice, following his lead from the letter that he wrote to Silco. Vi's first words after the fact show that she is serious about trying to move forward together, to try and love again.
What are you waiting for? He's your dad too.
After the destruction of the commune and reuniting with Caitlyn, Vi is convinced that Jinx has changed for the better. She wants to help Jinx realize her true potential, to help her fully turn the corner from villain to hero, to redeem her as she fights to protect humanity against the Victor bots.
If you come, help use all that explosive potential of yours for good, maybe we could rewrite your story.
And even though it looked a little sketchy there for a second, she is ultimately proven right when Jinx comes back to fight. Vi also learns during this time that Caitlyn has given up her grudge against Jinx, following Vi and Jinx's lead and allowing the past to be forgiven in the hopes of achieving a brighter future. This allows Vi and Caitlyn to fully reconnect before the fight for humanity begins. During the climactic battle, Vi and Jinx fight alongside each other. They are fighting an ascended version of Vander, which makes things complicated. It just felt like they were about to get their father back, before it was pulled out from under them. Vi hesitates for a moment, her life and love for Vander flashing before her eyes, breaking down as she mourns her father for a second time, allowing the ascended Vander to attack her. In a reversal of roles, it's Jinx who jumps into action and protects Vi. We get a classic situation, where Vi is holding on to Jinx as she hovers over the edge. After all she has been through, how she has just come to terms with who Jinx is and learned to accept her, having finally gotten through to her, seeing her sister is still in there and has the potential to be a hero, Vi can't bring herself to let go. And it is Jinx's final gift to her sister as she does what Vi cannot. She lets go herself, freeing Vi from the burden of her existence. For her entire life, Vi has put Powder above herself, trying to protect her, trying to get through to her, trying to redeem her. Vi's entire life has revolved around her relationship with Powder. Vi would never have been able to let go herself, as doing so would only add to the massive amount of guilt and regret she has been punishing herself with over the years. By letting go, Jinx is essentially giving Vi permission to move on, to live for herself, and to try and find what happiness she can. I think when we last see Vi, she has a beautiful conclusion to her story. Her pink hair has started to peek out from the black dye, showing that she is herself again. Her tattoo has a cut in it, showing that even though she has some scars, these experiences made her who she is, and that she is strong enough to keep moving forward. She is singing the song that Powder sang at the beginning of the series, showing that even though they may never see each other again, Powder, Jinx, her sister, is still a part of who Vi is. I think it's also noteworthy that for pretty much the first time in the series, Vi's arms aren't wrapped. I think signaling that she can finally be at peace, no longer trying to prove herself or feeling so angry at the circumstances of the world. Vi's answer to Caitlyn asking if she is still in the fight, I think signifies that Vi, alongside Caitlyn, will continue to try and create peace and justice for Piltover and Zaun.
It's just a tune my mother used to hum.
Vi has endured so much over the course of the show. She showed just how resilient of a person she is, as she constantly fought for what she believed in and tried to protect those she loved. Her path wasn't always straightforward, but by the end of the series, she learns to forgive herself for things that can't be changed, and to try and move forward to help create a better tomorrow. Even though many people have criticized her journey throughout the second season of the show, I think she is still incredibly compelling, and she has hidden depths that can be easily overlooked on first glance. I think Vi's story is about struggle, loss, perseverance, forgiveness, and learning to love oneself in a world that can be so cruel. For these reasons, and so many more, in my opinion, Vi is the best character in Arcane. If you somehow made it to the end of this video, I want to thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, it would mean a lot if you liked and subscribed. It really helps out the channel. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.